Hi, this is Kimberly. I threw together some of my commentary from the 30-part series, Letters from Christopher, Tragic Confessions of the Watts Family Murders. The book is by Sherilyn Cadle, and this is part 2 of 3. I have a lot of video plans in my head for the future. I'll get them out to you as soon as I can. I've been asked by several people to criticize or critique the missing chapter on Nikki. I think I'll combine it with the show that she and the gumshoe enthusiast put on. You know, that guy otherwise known as AD. But please know that in addition to being a procrastinator, I'm just painfully slow in doing shit. So it takes me a while to do these damn videos. Not to mention my peculiar CRS affliction. You know, can't remember shit. My final thoughts on the Letters from Christopher book will be coming soon, just as soon as I finish this dumbass series that I thought would be brisk and effortless. But land sakes alive, there are 30 fucking parts. It's hours upon hours of listening and editing. I do this kind of shit to myself all the time. I thought it would be entertaining to intermingle the chapters for kind of a easy listening thing, if you will. Also for people that came in late and jumped in the middle and missed some of the episodes or chapters. So it kind of combines everything and, well, shit. Maybe it was a dumbass idea. Just never fucking mind. But don't forget, I'll be reviewing the book about Chris and shit being a zero when it comes out December 9th. I'll get each chapter to you guys as soon as possible, but I'm just going to throw out my fibromyalgia card here, so y'all don't be expecting me to crank it out like some of these other channels do. I'm special, like a delicate and exquisite flower. However, come hell or high water, I somehow have the strength to bitch and carry on about things. I mean, make a fuss, even though I'm not one to ever complain or raise my voice. In my younger days, I'd run around top speed all the time. I got shit done, man. But now I'm all used up. My back is all jacked the hell up, and I feel like I've been rode hard and put up wet. So please, y'all enjoy this Chris and shit potpourri video. One more to come after this, and then on to the new Chris and shit book. Thank you for listening. An eerie feeling felt all around them. Somehow they knew something was not right. I'm sure an eerie feeling did fall upon them, but how does she know this? This was not in the book, but I can see this for myself. How much freaking manpower did Chris Watts waste by lying about the blankets and toys? He's such an asshole, worthless waste of space. As I want to show how much time was wasted because the dimwit lied. Why didn't Cadle put this in the book to explain where the blankets and toys went? This pisses me off because I feel like it was a huge part of the investigation, in that it wasted so much time. I don't get the feeling that the author did very much, if any, research for this book, other than looking at Discovery and talking to Chris Watts. Before we go back to the book that I'm supposed to be reviewing, I found this captivating little account in the Discovery while I was getting carried away with my research of blankets. We used a shovel to carefully scrape off top layers of dirt. We discovered what appeared to be paper towels along with what appeared to be excrement. You know, Chris Watts really is an asshole, lowlife, dirtbag moron piece of shit. He really is an animal, shitting in nature just like that. What a nice thing to find while looking for deceased children's treasured blankets and their stuffed animal toys. Alright, back to the book. She must have been naive to think that she could put a book out on Chris Watts and there wasn't going to be any people picking it apart, because we've studied this case from every possible angle. I actually question if the author is as interested in this case as we are. I've seen her on some interviews and I can tell she doesn't know the case like us. And well, I know I sound like a mean girl, but I don't think we should let her join our informal club. On with the chapter review. I'll try to stay on topic. I've never been tested, but I think I have ADD. I know I hide it well, but my mind is always racing 90 miles an hour, and you should see my desk. In my heart, I'm a very tidy person, and when I was younger, I was. But something happened, and now I make messes wherever I go. And then I don't know what to do. I just stand there, go, what the hell? And don't even with the misplacing things. Drives my husband up a wall. He still loves me, though. I'm very lovable. Damn, I've already gotten off topic. This may sound monotonous, 'cause it is to me, but it is what it is. She copy and pasted this whole damn chapter. I just can't let this go. It's a reproduction of Discovery, and it's unacceptable to call it a book that you wrote, Mrs. Cadle. This copy-paste bullshit, it's really pissing me off. She hyped up this book, making it appear that there was going to be all this new shit in it, but 90% of it is copying off of Tammy Lee. I'm sure Tammy has had to put up with this kind of horseshit her whole academic life, because she's brilliant. And now in her career, someone's doing it. I wonder if Tammy knows that her words are in a book that someone else claimed to write. And this woman is going to go on Dr. Oz soon and act like she came up with all of this stuff. Red flag number one to me was that she and Chris Watts first started communicating in March, and the book came out the beginning of October. Well, it doesn't take long to copy and paste now, does it? That explains how she was able to come out with a book in lightning speed. She said she was working at a full-time job at the time, so yeah, copy and paste a chapter after work, go to bed. It didn't take long. I mean, I'm really enraged about this. Jesus Christ. I'm going to start doing true crime myself if this is all you have to do. Sit back on my ass while law enforcement do all the hard and dirty work. They spend extra hours at work behind a computer writing their reports and their synopsis, and then they go home to a sleepless night while rage, grief, and anxiety flood their mind and body. Then Kimberly comes along, requests the discovery. I copy the hell out of it and paste it into my easy-to-use word processor. Poof, I have a book. How could she live with herself? I knew right away this book was going to be a piece of shit when I was invited to do a documentary on her book. And I was like, what you talking about, woman? I immediately left her now defunct Facebook page when the first sentence I read had a grammatical error. No one takes you seriously when you talk like shit. I mean, when one is inarticulate. She said in one of her interviews that her family and friends quite enjoyed the book. Of course they did. Do you know how much schooling and years of on-the-job experience Tammy Lee has? At least put her as co-author, or just that she's the author and you are the scribe. I think that's fair. From now on, I would like to refer to Mrs. Cadle as a scribe. A scribe back in the day copied documents before printing was invented. Yeah, that smooth copying and pasting thing we got going on now is badass. Word of the day is plagiarism. Plagiarism is using someone else's work without giving proper credit. She should have said, according to the Chris Watts discovery files, CBI agent Tammy Lee said, and then put it in quotes, or she could have paraphrased. And I probably wouldn't have even been pissed then. This author needs to go back to kindergarten. Damn it, I just called her an author again. Scribe. The scribe needs to go back to primary school. I think she took the share everything rule the wrong way, or too far. It seems she was looking for shortcuts to get this book out because she had a few letters from Christopher. And yes, I do recognize that was unique and something that no one else has been able to do. So shut up. From Christopher book, and I feel like it has offered very little in the way of new information. Her biggest bombshell she sold to the Daily Mail right when the book came out. How very coy of her. That made it seem as if the entire book was just jam-packed with bombshell information. Well, so far, it's been an overwhelming surprise full of disappointment. There's always hope for the next chapter. In the chapter, she gives us a lot of dribble and the definitions of sane and insane, which she no doubt copied. People here on the outside that have made sure this cowardly, candy-ass, weakling, evil piece of chicken shit will never see the outside world again. Ever. I hope he feels despair and terror every single long day and night of his life. At least he has a life. It was not up to him to decide that for Shanann, Nico, Bella, and Celeste. God Almighty, did I forget to review Chapter 21? Well, here it is. 3 pages of nothingness that you can get by Googling Chris Watts' discovery and then search for autopsy. Damn it, Cadle, stop copying off of other people's work. From Daily Mail on Sherilyn Cadle's exclusive with them, where they celebrate her mediocrity. I mean her bombshell book. Lord knows I try to be nice, but I seem to always fail. Good gracious, land sakes alive, I've been told I have a potty mouth, and yes, I do. I remember as a kid and a teenager dropping naughty words as kind of a test and to get a reaction out of my parents. You know how that goes. And my mother would say, in her British accent, "Kimberly, that's rude. Rude, rude, rude." And then she would try and stifle a laugh at me. We all know when naughty behavior is rewarded with a laugh, it encourages it. So, naturally, it became a habit, and people are still laughing at me, except for those who are offended by me. My mother would explain to me that proper young ladies did not use foul language, and I would, in all of my innocence, ask her if it was okay for moms then, because she would cuss like a drunken sailor when she got wound up. Suddenly, I would be sitting in my room staring at the wall with no TV or dessert. I did ask my mom a few times to explain to me what a bloody sod was. She never did. All I know is that my father was one. My timing was probably off because it never occurred for me to ask her when she wasn't pissed at him. And that was most of the time, now that I think of it. And if you don't like it, well, heavens to Betsy, this probably is not the channel for you. But some, I'm sure, can look past it because I'm also a very compassionate and empathetic person as well, with several bad habits. But I'm just willing to bet some of you, a few of you at least, have a bad habit or two of your own, such as, oh, I don't know, being an asshole. I mean, acting like a blankety blank blank to me in the comment section of my channel, unprovoked. I didn't ask you to come here. However, everyone is welcome. I would like to share this wild and reckless thing that I do. If, say, I've happened upon a video on YouTube that catches my interest and I begin to watch it and it's not up to my taste, I don't bless out the channel creator. They have no idea that I am out there, so they didn't make the video or the channel for me. But I'll check out the comments sometimes just to see what the vibe is, and people are there all happy and shit, praising the channel owner. And I'm like, alright, well, God bless America. Shut the front door. Good for them. And then I go on my merry way. And to those that continually ask me, why do you do so much of this Chris Watts stuff? Well, 'cause I want to. Why do you watch football or eat sushi? For God's sake. I'm not going to get all mad and go off on you. You would tell me to shut up, get out in front of the TV, and order you some sushi. And I do Chris Watts stuff because people want it, and I want it. It always baffles me when someone has purposely sought out a Chris Watts video, and then they go off on me about doing it. Why are you searching it out? Well, shucks darn, I'm sure YouTube appreciates you donating your time to police the internet. But if you're an asshole, you will be hidden on my channel. Well, gadzooks, I don't need you Marcia my mellow. I'm a positive person, damn it. So this will prompt people to insult me, so go ahead. I can put you out of my sight and out of my mind with a click of a button. I wish we could do that in real life. So go ahead, sassy pants, bring it. But more importantly, why are you here? Why did you seek me out? If I annoy you so much, why must you torment yourself so? Be kind to yourself. It's rough on the mind, body, and soul when you're not kind to yourself. Find another video that adds joy or value to your life. I have fibromyalgia, and negativity can definitely send me into a flare. I'm not kidding. Just the same as if I overdo it or if I've had a long patch of gloomy and cold weather. And I guess if we're being fair, one could say that I've done this with Cadle's book. I sought her out. I didn't go along my merry way, but I bought the damn book, and I didn't expect this. And I'm neck deep in it now, so what do you want me to do? I don't give up. I don't give up my bad habits, and I'm damn sure not going to quit this. Fiddlesticks. Just look at me babbling on when I have a chapter to review. We all know where this is going. I am now used to picking out a string of words in the chapter and searching discovery to see who the scribe copied from this time. Today's string of words were Blue Star Latent Blood Stain. It led me to CBI Crime Scene Analysis David Yoakum's report critiquing of Cadle's book. Right away, a fuck up. For God's sake, if you're going to write true crime, you need to get all your facts and shit tidy and straight. Double check, triple check. If this was her only screw up in the book, I would have assumed it was a simple error. But this is straight up apathetic. She was composing text for publication, and I feel like she has done a disservice to this gentleman by not getting his rank, title, and place of employment correct. His words are clear to the reader, they're fluid, they're precise, and he follows the rules of the English language. At least you kinda sorta gave him credit. I am still on the first paragraph and boom, two things have already stopped me in my tracks. The scribe has given an untrue account of what happened. Damn, if you're going to copy and paste just so you can change around a couple of words, make sure you maintain the integrity of the document. The CBI is a government organization, so that would make his report a government document, correct? Please, make sure you understand what you're talking about. I think you understand, but no, you don't. If one can't pay attention to detail, one has no business doing true crime books. People feel betrayed when they pay for your book. They're all excited about reading it, and then they get into a debate with someone, say on Facebook, and they are laughed out of a private group because you don't know what you're talking about. And you're like, but I read the book. And she was on Daily Mail and everything, as they slowly shut the door in your face. Let's resume. And again, it is word for word, except for where she fucks up. Except for where she makes a blunder, trying to make it sound like her words and then loses the meaning. But it is word for word, copy and paste. Again, shocker. This is redundant, Mrs. Cadle. Mrs. Scribe now calls him a police officer. Cadle deleted it and called him first a detective and then a police officer. I'm not demeaning them at all. Just why am I getting this impression from her that it doesn't matter and that it's all interchangeable? It's not. It matters. I found a sentence that baffled me. So, another typo. But I can't find evidence of this anywhere. I googled this actually. I spent way too much time away from this task looking it up. I could be wrong. I spent way too much time trying to research this statement. One must strive for thoroughness and accuracy when writing nonfiction. So I want to know if this was an embellishment on her part or if it was fact. I don't think we give a shit about that. I know I don't. When are we going to get to more of these letters from your pal Christopher? And that swabs were taken from the car. Big deal. This is boring page filler. And yes, it's all part of the discovery, but we want the tea. You insinuated you were going to spill it, and that's what we all came here for. I hate being disappointed. But she got all the swab info from Officer Amanda Purcell's report, and I just want to recognize her report too. She copied it word for word. There's so much more interesting things from this case that could have been told in her own words. We want to know what is unique to this case, and there's plenty. This is its very own very unique case. So there's really no sense in summarizing this chapter. I will just read the real documents. This way you won't be confused with the wrong facts, because she does provide a few incorrect things here in this chapter. The final dull and lackluster part of this chapter. God, y'all, I have never had so many people praise me in my entire life. After that last video, it was so sweet. I've always been a bit of a wallflower, so I'm not used to this. I hope I don't get all conceited and shit. Y'all let me know if I do and just put me back on the right track. I will continue cussing, swearing, saying bad words, you name it. Like I was gonna fucking stop anyway. And what's this bit I've heard about they are taking back some of the discovery? Is that true? Where did this come from? And we aren't done with it yet. I hope this means that something dramatic is going to happen. I don't know if anyone else was involved in Dumbass's cockamamie plan. I want to take y'all on this roller coaster ride with me. I'm mad at myself by getting taken in by this scribble. See what happens when I get sick? My spidey senses go all off kilter, and I allow myself to be led down the garden path, as my late mom would say. She also used to say when she was feeling under the weather, or if she had a hangover or something, that she felt like she had been pulled through the hedges backwards. That's where I am at right now, with a headache that feels like my head is in a vice. But back to where I got snowed by Mrs. Scribble. That's scribe and Cadle put together. It's my new word for her. This is how my summary was originally. I'll let you know when I came back to my senses. Cadle quotes Chris here throughout the entire chapter. I wish she had been more descriptive of if it was phone, in person, a letter, Morse code, carrier pigeon. She calls them, quote, informal conversations. Is one able to have a formal conversation with an inmate? And if so, is it black tie formal wear required? And won't you get messy in that vending machine room? Chris says pretty much his life stopped at age 34. He, quote, lost his family, friends, job, house, everything that mattered. No, asshole, you didn't lose it. You demolished it. You have ripped out heart after heart after heart and stomped on them. Hey, I know, why don't you write to Dave Baumhover's wife and ask her how you have disrupted her and her husband's lives forever? What about all those people that had to go to Survey 319 and witness and deal with that indescribable nightmare and had to clean up after you? You disgust me. You don't even think past yourself and how you were feeling. Why does Chris always act like he's a scaredy cat bystander? I was surprised to hear Chris say that he and Shanann weren't meant for one another in this chapter. I suppose he's still mooning over Nikki. He claims he does not want to come across as though he's blaming Shanann. He says he was overwhelmed by her beauty when they met, and that he was not true to himself because of it. He could not relax and be himself. Well, what is yourself, Christopher? Tell us. I wish Mrs. Scribble would have asked him, who is Chris Watts? If you wanted to break out of that shell, you're supposed to start small. Like you should have hung that picture on the wall while they were in North Carolina. You could have gotten one of those huge pictures with the black velvet painting with a plywood frame. If I say Elvis paintings, I'm sure you can picture it in your mind. Only instead of Elvis, you could have picked out a gaudy NASCAR representation. I guarantee you would have felt like a bad, bad boy. But yes, you start small, finding yourself. Your 6 weeks alone would have been a great way to spend your time. Finding yourself, not having a dirty, sweaty, torrid love affair. God almighty. Okay, so whatever happened to being controlled by Shanann? So you never, ever had a mind of your own? You've never been in control of your ugly self? Life was beautiful, you say. You say in this chapter that your wedding day was the happiest day of your life. Shanann was gorgeous beyond belief in your eyes. And then you lost, in your words, your family because you were being dominated by something sinister. His first date, going to a theater. Mr. Genius thought they were going to a movie theater and showed up looking like a slob. And Shanann was dressed to the nines. He was afraid he wasn't going to get another date. Oh, how I wish Shanann would have run for the hills, like her damn pants were on fire. This idiot has no communication skills, does he? And he's dumber than a rock to think he could, quote, be himself with Nikki. No, she controlled your ass too. And she told you you were being yourself and all open and shit, because she set her sights on you and she was going to have you. And then what? Would you end up killing her too eventually for being bossy? When one is as much of a wimp and a dumb fuck, I'm sure everyone seems intimidating. Chris is used to being told what to do and then doing it, never deviating. I want to know what his childhood was like, really like. I hope one day we can find out if he was born like this or something warped him along the way to adulthood. He's serious, isn't he? First, that he lost them, and then that it's not his fault. He was being dominated by a diabolical existence or being. Is that what numbnuts is trying but failing miserably to explain? And this was a bit shocking to me. He admits he's a candy-ass coward chicken shit. Not in so many words, but he does admit to failing to have the courage to stand up to his wife. Bingo, dumbass. This is what you should have been working on, instead of running around acting like a horny teenager. You had a baby on the way and you were about to lose your house. Shanann was desperate for you to tell her what was going on in that peanut head of yours. You could have listed the house for sale, even started packing to move. Enrolled the children in a more affordable part-time school. You should have pulled up your Thomas the Train underwear and started practicing being the man of the house. I think Shanann would have been all wooed by that, by you being all manly and stuff. Just like how Scarlett O'Hara was all turned on when Brett Butler would stand up to her. She probably needed a break from wearing the pants, but you should have told her why you were losing interest in the marriage. Running away is not an option, especially when you have kids. This is what you've been training for your whole life, being an adult. And the fucking solution you came to is fucking insane. And now you are in timeout the rest of your life, and taxpayers have to pay for your sorry ass. I think you should beg to be put in general population, get a 12-cent an hour job within the prison, and pay back as much restitution as you can for the hours upon hours others have had to spend cleaning up the ghastly and revolting mess you made, because you are a knucklehead, dumbass, chicken shit piece of shit. And these words, rising to the occasion, don't sound like they would come out of the same lion mouth that was on the front porch telling lies to the media and using the word like repeatedly. No one told you to cower in the corner and act like a sissy. He says he was afraid to talk to Shanann. Well then, it makes sense that someone had to take charge of your household, you bonehead. If you're going to act like a child, you naturally will get treated like one. It's very sad, actually, Chris's lack of social and communication skills, claiming he wants to be himself, but he didn't have a clue how to. Then it came to light that he's a covert narcissist, chicken shit family annihilator. But he won't accept that. He was controlled, he said, by evil, by darkness, by Shanann. He seems to draw the line at and refuses to accept responsibility for himself and his actions. So he talks about no money, no decision-making power, and that Shanann would throw extravagant parties. And then I picture Chris doing a parlor trick during one of these parties, sitting on the pristine carpet in the formal living room, scooting his bare ass across the carpet, acting out from his anxiety of anticipating an adult conversation. He wasn't allowed to work out, he says, and that Shanann asked him to stage photos like she was going out jogging with him. He discloses that he was being a mean prick to her, so he wouldn't have to talk to her about all the things he was chicken shit about. Perhaps he should have had his mother write her a note. He claims that he was able to be himself around Nikki, and he couldn't do that with his own wife. I call bullshit on that. They barely knew each other. Chris himself has said he was happy with life before he started the affair. Yes, I'm sure the money situation was stressful, but again, why were people flying on trips all over the place? That's really expensive, and the kids going to a crazy expensive school. I mean, I just can't wrap my head around this malarkey. They should have handed their paychecks and bills to me. I would have had this shit straightened out in a few months. This is what happens when one spouse has their head in the sand and the other has their head in the clouds about the family finances. Someone has to assume the role of authoritarian and take charge. It's the yin and yang and the to and fro bullshit. You claim you don't like bossiness, but I see that thing rearing its ugly head in this doomed-to-fail new relationship, too, with Nikki. She was playing you, dude, like a fiddle. I assume y'all were into role-playing. Well, she was letting you be the big, strong man right up until she was walking down the aisle. Then she was going to snap your ass right back into place. I guarantee it. Chris says Shanann was keeping him from his family, and he was caught in the middle and yada yada yada, but she was actually trying to reach out to them and repair it. She was talking to her friends about it because you wouldn't talk to her about it, and because she knew she had gone too far this time with your family. She had already sent your parents a sonogram text that they ignored. I'm the type of person, well, I feel like this shit needs to be solved on the spot. It involved all of you speaking to one another. I would have taken Shanann to your parents' house and talked it out. It could have been done on a 2 or 3-way phone call too, depending on how many people were actually involved. You could even use a mediator. Start with an email. Damn, there were so many ways to get this ball rolling. I'm pretty sure you could have gotten Shanann to cooperate because she was desperate to be close to you again. Either way, it was going to be fixed again eventually. You all did this time and time again. I've seen some very nice photos of Shanann and your parents getting along nicely after the wedding fiasco. I know this because Bella and Cece are in the pictures. So it could have been fixed. Heavens to Betsy, you weren't showing any initiative. You know, it's Shanann this and Shanann that. She would be bossy and my sister and her would fight and her and my mom and wah, wah, wah. Like a baby, you go on. Chris whines about Shanann and his family not getting along. Quote, I felt thrown in the middle all the time, and I just wanted all of us to get along, end quote. Well, Chris, I know a lot of people that would like to throw you down the middle of an interstate at 3 a.m. when people are driving home from the bar drunk. The common denominator is you, Christopher. You needed to stop being a pansy ass. I'd been thinking about killing my family. I didn't want to, but I knew I was going to do it. I did not realize I would feel anger because I didn't know what that felt like. I just knew there was something in me that felt like it was controlling me. There was a feeling of something dark around me, end quote. Damn, Cadle, did you always just let him ramble on about this, or did you ask questions? For example, was he alarmed with his thoughts? Did it occur to him to seek professional help on the double? When he started hooking up with her is when he started thinking about killing his family. My God, man, did alarm bells not go off in your head? You couldn't have texted your dad? I know y'all don't like to talk out loud. You could have said something along the lines of, Dad, I've started an affair and I think I'm in love and I've begun to have some unsavory thoughts about harming Shanann and the kids. Please help me and don't tell Mom. I'm very confident he would have talked some sort of sense into you and would have advised you the proper way of getting rid of your family with them still being alive and free to go on and enjoy life without you. Things would have simmered down eventually. Chris claims he felt the presence of a demon, but not in the religious sense, and he was having visions of sorts. Is there not someone you can call for a problem like that? Hey, I know a priest. You could have had an exorcism. I want to know, did it scare you? I wish I knew the questions that Cadle scribe asked him, if any. Jesus Christ, man, if it stresses you out to that degree about Shanann telling you to tell your parents they can't see or talk to the kids anymore, you could have folded your arms across your chest and said no. Make me. There's a thing called being defiant. You could have tried some of that. You could also assume the defiant stance. Put your hands on your hips and refuse to cooperate further. You could have practiced in front of the mirror while you had the house to yourself. Hanging that picture on the wall would have made you feel all powerful and stuff. So, while I was making my notes on this chapter, I kept having a nagging feeling that I just could not identify. A lot of this chapter sounded so familiar to me. Why is that? Did I hear it in one of Scribble's interviews? Did she already speak of it in the book? Damn it, I hate when I do this because I just cannot go on. I have a disability called CRS, can't remember shit, and I couldn't remember where I had seen and heard all of this before. I just could not let this go why the shit sounded so familiar. So now that I'm practically a gumshoe, I wasn't going to stop until I found out just why it sounded so familiar. Remember when Dieter was showing Nikki around the house, making sure she saw the pictures of the lovely family, and she got all jealous and shit and stormed out to her truck, sat there texting Chris like a teenager? That was probably it. So I kept on looking. I read that chapter again, and it was that chapter where Dieter was laughing at NK after he orchestrated her meltdown. And then no, I finally found it. It was Detective Baumhover's report. Of course. Silly me, I thought Cadle put this chapter together herself. It was from when Baumhover talked with NK, he told Nikki, and Nikki shared it with Detective Baumhover. I now get why it took me so long to... Apparently this was scanned in, possibly as a JPEG file, into the Discovery, and it wasn't showing as searchable text. Whenever will I stop doubting what I know in my heart to be true? Boom, just like that, I found nearly the entire chapter. This time, NK wrote it. Please, woman, cite your sources, Mrs. Scribble. So this is where Crybaby blabbed all of his and Shanann's business to NK. It's similar to when, as a child or a teenager, and you're at your friend's parents' house and you tell your friend's parents that you wish they were your parents because you were horribly mistreated at home. Grow a pair, Chris. I'll tell you why I didn't give up searching for this. It's because it was too well written. That made me crazy suspicious. And I now know it's because Nikki wrote it. And I've seen from her work emails that she knew how to come across as professional when the occasion called for it. I'll be glad when I'm done with this book, really. And here I thought we were getting some stuff hot off the press. I don't think I like the integrity or the like thereof of this woman that wrote this book or claims to have written this book. It's the inconsistencies NK was getting from Fart Face. He can't keep a lie straight to save his life. And I can see why Mrs. Cadle formed a farce. I mean a kinship with Chris. I tend to believe the good in people until proven otherwise. I'm just let down by this whole thing. I thought she wrote a fucking book. No, she wrote a letter to Chris Watts. Takes me a while to lose faith in someone, and now the deed is done. I don't trust her. I don't believe her. Some of you may have seen a video on J for Justice's channel regarding some alleged text between Mrs. Scribble and Chris Watts' sister. Mrs. Scribble says those texts were altered. And who knows, someone is lying. I just don't know who it is. Just make your own informed decision. Chris then tells about a creepy letter from a creepy woman he got, where this woman claims to have been dreaming of Bella. It's very insulting to Bella's memory, and she told Chris Watts he doesn't need to worry anymore because she is in heaven and happy. Yes, I know that. This after saying Bella was dripping with gasoline in the dream. Really? What in God's green earth is wrong with people? You know what, lady? Fuck off. Bella is very dear to my heart. All of Chris Watts' victims are dear to my heart. So please don't. Just don't. Why was this shit even put in the book? He is still delusional and probably always will be. Comprise not only this chapter, but also Dieter's chapter from earlier in the book. It pisses me off that she quotes it as if it came from conversations or letters between herself and Chris Watts. It didn't. It came from our trusty discovery document. There are still well over 1,000 pages she hasn't used yet, enough for another 3 or 4 more books, mind you. Chris, I hope that haunts and torments you until you take your last breath. So, right off the bat, I see that Mrs. Scribble, which of course is Scribe and Cadle put together, my newest name for her, but right off the bat, she just copied and pasted 12 fucking pages of worthless, superficial nonsense. Shit that she can tell us about in a few sentences, but instead, she's doing the page filler bullshit again. Honestly, I've never seen anything like this, and I've read true crime off and on for a number of years. This is not impressive in the least. One expects to be enlightened by a book hyped up as much as this one. New information. I talked to this nincompoop myself. It's not that I was expecting an impressive display of skill. I had seen the promos, mind you. But I was expecting and hoping that some of our questions would be answered, since she actually got to communicate with this fucktard. So naturally, I will read most of this stuff to you because it is public information. I don't get why she was hitting people with copyright strikes that were reading from her book in the beginning, other than her introduction and dedication, and I'm confident if I went back and checked on the intro, it's probably been lifted too. However, I've seen very little, and I'm talking about microscopic parts of this book she actually wrote herself. What a charlatan. Scribble goes back to copying her favorite CBI agent, Tammy Lee. I'll just quote the astute agent here, and you'll know how the chapter starts. Jail staff at approximately 0 hours and 3 minutes. Scribbles with her erroneous information said in the book that he was released to the jail at 3 a.m. How the hell are you unsuccessful with copy and paste? This is one of the most simple and basic of computer skills. There are several online tutorials that I suggest she partake of rather than all of these interviews. Isn't she embarrassed? Probably not. The police were called. The neighbors seeing a woman walking around the garage, end quote. She copies part of Officer Manley's report for a long paragraph about the garage lights being on at Dumbass's home and a woman walking around the garage. Bullshit. First of all, this ignorant sentence makes no sense. Quote, the neighbors seeing a woman walking around in the garage, end quote. How can you see someone walking in the garage? You can't. Remember the very tall teenager Nick, the son of Nicole Atkinson? He was standing on her car to see if Shanann's car was in the garage. The report was that a woman walked up to the front door of the house and is not seen leaving. What the fuck is she saying? I saw an interview where she was trying to explain away all of the spelling and grammar mistakes. She said she was told to just write. Just write. Write. And they would take care of the proofreading. Does she not have any pride in her work? Some of these sentences that make zero sense, you can't have a proofreader fix that, especially on a true story. And some of this shit requires fact-checking. I doubt seriously she had that available to her. But let's go back to the writing part. Just write. That's horse shit. What did she write other than a few incoherent sentences of conjecture? Stick a fork in me. I am done. I am beyond done. Scribble got the time wrong again. It was actually 9:50 p.m. and not 8:50 p.m. as stated in the chapter. She apparently has no clue how to convert military time. The reason I call her Scribble is because she produced this book carelessly and in a hurry. You know, like when a child scribbles and then proudly presents the drawing to you, even though they know they failed to do their damnedest on it. I am quite exasperated with this copyist. No, damn it. In order to construct this flimsy excuse for a publication. Damn it, woman, I wanted you to ask that knobhead worthless chicken shit piece of shit what was going on in that peanut head at sentencing when his leg was jumping up and down 90 miles per hour. What was he so agitated about? And what was up with that one lone conspicuous and dramatic sissy tear that rolled down his face? Was that the first time he ever cried? Was he just crying for show? Bloody hell, I don't need or want his arrest papers duplicated in the book. I can get that shit on the internet for free. Was there no one to copy from? Is this why you failed to ask questions of him? This book is called Letters from Christopher. Where are the freaking letters? Are they at the end so that you are forcing your readers to stick around until then? Research shows often demons will play with lights and electronic things, end quote. Here we go again with the research shows bullshit without making reference to where she got the so-called information. Why is she saying this? And she is talking about demons casually as though they are tangible, out walking around and everybody sees them and believes them to be existent. Well, I mean, Chris Watts is real and he's a demon, but you know what I mean, right? This whole book we've been getting these vague suggestions of evil and dark and supernatural. Tell us what Nimrod said about it. Or is this something that you, Mrs. Scribble, are making up and surmising? Either way, get on with it or shut up. Please indulge me and tolerate my reading this little gem once more. Quote, research shows often demons will play with lights and electronic things, end quote. If anyone is going to play with electronic things, it will be Shanann, flipping the switch on the chair. You know, the chair. They can trick him. Tell him he's been named king of the prison. Here is your throne nicknamed Old Sparky. But first, we must fasten these electrodes to your head and legs for the flashy celebration show. I've noticed throughout this book, Scribble never commits to anything she has written herself. She will ask rhetorical questions, or she will say some non-committal shit like you decide. Another set of questions she posed was, quote, who turned the lights on? Who turned them off? End quote. Whoa. That is some deep reflection and contemplation, Mrs. Copycat. Thank you for scrutinizing this case so thoroughly. Scribble says that Chris's family was not allowed to see him until the day before the sentencing. This is echoed by a video Mama Watts did bitching about everything. When I hear her complaining, it makes my ears hurt. But of course, as usual, doesn't elaborate. Damn, this is so infuriating. To Judge Cop Cow, whining and bellyaching about not being able to talk to her beloved weakling Mama Boy's son. It seems I remember Shitface refused to talk to his mother, but I don't know that for sure. but I do know she has embellished before, so I'm starting to be cautious about anything she says that I can't verify. Do you blame me? Dickhead just talks in circles. He claims, according to Scribble, that he pled guilty to the murders for a reason, but he never fucking elaborates. Why the mystery, Scooby-Doo? Quote, Chris said, there's a reason why I didn't, that I came in because, there's a reason why I didn't come in with a lawyer either. So I just and this is gonna happen so, end quote. Huh? Is he fucking high? I can't understand him. Allow me to read it again. It's gold. Chris said, quote, there's a reason why I didn't, that I came in because, there's a reason why I didn't come in with a lawyer either. So I just and this is gonna happen so, end quote. Okay. I'll give you a moment to process P-Brain's statement. Yeah, I looked it up. Since she has a history of lying, reporting inaccurate information. So I find it difficult to give credence to anything she says now. Oh, brother, this is getting tedious. But first he had to remember, because if you recall from earlier in the book, the trauma of him committing the murders caused P-Brain to have a bit of memory loss. Well, bless his heart. He also indicated that he had to feign remorse after the murders. Dickhead says, according to the book, that he felt nothing. Felt nothing. That is so scary to me, and I don't understand. It makes me want to hurl when I think about him and his empty head and his empty heart. Supposedly, self-absorbed Chris also told Scribble that he doesn't like it when people hate him. Oh, man. Stop being a crybaby. Here we go with the good spirits and the evil spirits. Gee, if only he could have discerned the good and the bad. Does he even use words like discern? And I guess the statement of, I wish I could have had an open ear to hear the Lord calling me, is the closest thing to repentance we will ever hear from that obnoxious and revolting chicken shit bastard, reprehensible piece of shit. He said he felt heartless, angry, and defiant up until October 1st, when it all broke for him, end quote. Okay, what in the Sam Hill are you talking about? Why doesn't Scribbles expand upon this statement? I looked up October 1st in the Discovery, and that was the day they took his footprints. Okay, and I'm sorry, but I don't see the freaking connection. Oh my god, this is truly exasperating. I will give you a link to the PDF. I am not going to read this crap out loud. It's boring and repetitious. 12 full pages of the book. Was that even freaking necessary? No, hell no. There was no need other than to fill pages. I am not impressed that Chris Dumbfuck Watts. Where are all the new revelations that I feel like I was promised with this book? There's absolutely nothing new, and I'm bored to tears. There is nothing to talk about here. It's all discovery or court papers. I was hoping the scribe would have chronicled and presented Christopher's story in detail. She talked to him, for God's sake. Or did she? Out of curiosity, I checked Amazon, and this paperback is only 2.5 stars. No surprise there. Perhaps it can be used for a DIY craft project. When I was a kid, we would take a phone book and fold down all the pages into a triangle. Then we would spray paint it and decorate it as a Christmas tree. No joke. We just thought we were funny as shit and laugh hysterically till we nearly pissed our pants. I just can't. I just can't believe that she did that insolent damn nonsense. The chapter starts with Chris's parents and his sister finally being allowed to see him, and what a clusterfuck that was. I don't know where I heard this from, and I looked and looked for it and I couldn't find it, so I gave the hell up. He pled guilty because he is guilty, except that your son is a dumbass, nonsensical, homicidal, dickhead, sissy piece of chicken shit murderer. All Chris ever wanted was for Shanann to be happy. malarkey. Bullshit. He never told her no or argued with anything she wanted to buy or do. I think that had more to do with him being a pansy ass. First of all, how the fuck do you know this? Did Chris or Cindy tell you this? You could have at least said Nimrod claims blah blah blah, or Dickhead's mother said, don't state this shit like it's fact. I mean, this is just a pea-brain bullshit excuse. That's a bunch of damn malarkey. Horse shit. What a wuss. And she goes on to talk about Bella's hair. Why do people talk about Bella's hair always? Scribble says that it was said by Cindy that Shanann's mom would cut it so it would grow. Would take anything that Cindy says about Shanann and the children with a grain of salt. Cadle then says this, quote, she had approval from her mom, something most girls long for but never achieve, end quote. Wow, I find that to be very, very untrue. Most girls don't get approval from their mom? That's fucking absurd. Is this another research shows factoid bullshit? Malarkey? She mentions the song Bella sang about her witless daddy being a hero, and then says, quote, if Christopher thinks of it now, how much it must hurt. Must? Did you ask him? I'm not sure he feels hurt or anything for that matter. I thought he was pretty much devoid of emotion. She says there is so much more to this story that Christopher does not even know. Like what? What does that mean? What does it mean that there's more to the story that Chris does not know? That's the biggest statement in this chapter. Can she back it up? How do you know there is more? How do you know Chris doesn't know? For fuck's sake. Was she watching the Golden Girls while she was writing and forgot to put the rest of this in? I wish she would have stated where this info came from. If it was from Chris Asshat Watts or from Cindy Watts while she and Scribble were still talking. I spent way too much time on the first two sentences of this chapter. I found them to be confusing. We aren't supposed to be bewildered like this when reading true crime. We are reading it to get information and clarification, correct? He was threatened, yelled at by other inmates, and told ways he could kill himself. This sent me to the internet to try and figure out what she was saying. All I know is it stopped me in my tracks, and I refused to go any further until I had the problem of sentence 1 and sentence 2 of chapter 26 solved. They were like thing 1 and thing 2 from Cat in the Hat. You know how they cause mischief. Again, not being a smartass, I was befuddled, and I want to know what the hell I'm talking about so I can sound all insightful and intelligent and stuff. But why the fuck am I researching this when I'm reading a book that is supposed to be telling me what happened? It really started to annoy the piss out of me. So what the hell is this 7.5 weeks she is talking about? Please, if I am misunderstanding Mrs. Scribble, or if I have my facts wrong, please inform me. And then I realized I was gritting my teeth while researching this. Now my jaws are achy. Thanks, Chris Sybil. That's another one of those clever names I've come up with. It's Chris and Scribble together. Crap, I'm off track again. Why do I keep going down this rabbit hole just to try and find out what Scribble is talking about? And then I still don't know. If this was just another typo and I researched it for nothing, please don't tell me. I'll only lose my shit. I've spent too much time on this, and then I go from one thing to another, and then the whole damn day is wasted because of my undiagnosed ADD. We are only on the first two sentences and already I'm exasperated. You know, like when you've seen a movie where somebody gets pissed off and they try and tear up that very thing that's bringing them such anguish, and they're unsuccessful, so it enrages them even more. And then they just clear their desk with one fell swoop and kick over trash cans and stuff. Well, that's where I am right now with this book. It's kind of funny and it's kind of not. And no, I didn't do any of that, but in my mind I did. So, when I'm finished reading this book, I think I'll try my best to rip it to shreds. And of course, my attempt will be fruitless, but at least I'll be too worn out afterwards to throw a full on tantrum. Then I will slowly and carefully smooth out the wrinkled pages of that poor, blameless book, simultaneously soothing my nerves, and then I'll make the Christmas tree craft I told y'all about last week, where you can use an old telephone book or letters from Christopher to make a Christmas tree. It'll be all therapeutic and shit. So where was I? Oh yes, I had gotten in a lather over the first two sentences. Let's move on. So, golly gee willikers, Mr. Wilson, that would have been something Scribble could have questioned Nimrod about. What Colorado prison was Dickhead in? Or was he staged at Weld County Jail until they found placement for him? You're welcome. So let's move past these first sentences that sent me into a tizzy. I'm really fed up. Okay, so the other inmates were picking on Shithead, intimidating and upsetting him. He was yelled at, badgered, threatened, and offered suggestions and recommendations on ways in which to kill himself. It really hurt his feelings. Eventually it stopped. Bitch ass says because they either grew tired of it or realized they weren't gonna get a reaction from him. So Chris apparently has gone back to being his meek little self where everyone picks on him. You know, like how he accuses Shanann of unkind treatment. The difference is these assholes don't love you like your wife did, you fool. But Scribble says, quote, had they been able to get to him, though, they would have most definitely killed him, end quote. I'm sure they would have, but I don't think this should be stated as fact. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't all hold out hope. Just saying. Since he was on suicide watch, the only thing he had was a paper gown. Serves his dumbass right. For all those years, Shanann sat in a cold room wearing a paper gown waiting for the obstetrician to come in. But wearing a paper gown, he had a small pad in which to lay on the floor without a pillow or a blanket. Aww. Well, you know, it's not one of those all-inclusive resorts Shanann took your dumb ass to, and the prison had no idea what the hell to expect from you. So laying on a cement floor sounds like it was the optimal situation for Asshat to think about what he had done. I don't think he spent long enough in that kind of environment, because he is back to being passive-aggressive, and he seems to be too damn happy. I bet San Diego is sounding pretty epic while he was wallowing on the floor. What a fucktard. On this San Diego trip, Knucklehead was starting to mentally check out. Don't you hate that? When you're excited to do something special and have some fun, but the person you were with wants to act like a prick?